The palace walls were whispering that night. And those whispers would be sharper than a dagger driven into Hürrem Sultan's heart, because there was only one rumor spreading through the palace. Mahidevran Sultan had entered the Sultan's private chambers, and this news could change not just one night, but the fate of the throne itself. Hürrem Sultan stood frozen in the middle of her chamber. Her hands were clenched together, her fingertips had turned white. "This can't be true," she whispered. "This is impossible." But rumors in the palace are like the wind. Once they begin to blow, no one can stop them. Hürrem's eyes burned like fire. This was not just jealousy, this was fear, because a night in the Sultan's chambers was not just a night. It meant power being redistributed, and Hürrem knew one thing very well. In the palace, power was not measured by love, but by births. A child, a prince, a new possibility. Even the thought of that made it hard for Hürrem to breathe. Suddenly, she stood up. "Ibrahim Pasha." Her voice sharpened as she spoke his name. "He's the only one who can tell me the truth." Ibrahim Pasha was alone in his study. Candlelight left half of his face in shadow. The door burst open, Hürrem walked in. She didn't greet him, she didn't pause. "You did this." Ibrahim lifted his head. He looked calm, but there was a storm in his eyes. "What did I do, Hürrem Sultan?" "You sent Mahidevran to the Sultan?" The room turned ice cold. Ibrahim slowly stood. "I don't decide who goes to the Sultan." Hürrem stepped closer. "Don't play games with me." Silence. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "But it became more dangerous. Making me your enemy will not end well for you." It was a threat. Ibrahim understood that, but he didn't step back. Who enters the Sultan's heart is something neither you nor I can control. Hürrem narrowed her eyes. "You're wrong." She paused. "I control it." Her words echoed through the room. And in that moment, the invisible war that would change the fate of the palace began. Mahidevran Sultan woke up peaceful for the first time in a long while. There was a smile on her face that hadn't been seen in months. She looked into the mirror. She felt powerful again. "Did you see?" she told the servants. "The Sultan still remembers me." Whispers filled the harem once more. Mahidevran talked about the night, long and in detail. Every word was like an arrow that would reach Hürrem's heart, but there was something she didn't know. Sultan Suleiman's attitude had changed, and that change would shock her. When Mahidevran was received again, hope filled her face. But the Sultan's gaze was cold, distant, silent. Mahidevran's heart tightened. "Did I do something wrong?" she wondered. The Sultan spoke briefly, formally, without emotion. When Mahidevran left the room, her joy had turned into fear. Why was he like that? There was no answer. But in the palace, every answer is the beginning of another question. Ibrahim Pasha stood in front of Hatti Sultan's door. He couldn't knock, because he knew, if he knocked, there would be no turning back. Living apart from Hattis, even the thought shattered his heart, but the palace was no longer a place to breathe. The palace had become a battlefield, and in this war, the greatest loss would be love. Ibrahim returned to his room. He sat at his desk. He wrote 2 letters, one for Sultan Suleiman, one for Hattis. Then he stood up and left the palace without looking back. His destination was clear, Parga, his homeland. But escaping the palace was not escaping destiny. When Hürrem heard Mahidevran describing the night, she could no longer control herself. It was an insult, a challenge, and Hürrem never left a challenge unanswered. "I'm going to the Sultan." The door slammed shut behind her. Sultan Suleiman was alone. The door opened. Hürrem walked in. This time, there were no tears in her eyes, no fear, only determination. She stepped closer and asked the question that could change the fate of the palace. "There is something you need to know." Ibrahim Hattis, a secret, a scandal, a storm. Hürrem's lips parted, and the fate of the palace hung on a single sentence she was about to speak. Will Hürrem speak? How will Ibrahim's departure shake the palace? Why will Mahidevran's happiness be short-lived? And most importantly, in this silent war that has begun in the palace, whose end is being written. Be ready to step into the heart of this storm in the next episode. Because in the palace, no secret stays hidden forever.